Tonight, a celebration of Colorado's rich history told through the eyes of women. It's our thank you for what it took to carve a home from land both dramatic and dangerous, where mountains scratch against the sky and the desert holds its own deep secrets.
For the next 30 minutes, meet some Western Slope leaders as we commemorate Women's History Month.
You're watching Women of the Grand Valley, celebrating Women's History Month with your hosts, Hannah Hickman and Bernie Lang.
Hello everyone, I'm Hannah Hickman.
And I'm Bernie Lang. The U.S. has celebrated Women's History Month every March since the 1980s. But getting here, it wasn't simple. Here's how the executive director of the National Women's History Alliance put it.
In 2020, Molly Murphy McGregor told PBS the history of women in the United States seemed to be written in invisible ink. Not anymore. In the next 30 minutes, we'll introduce you to Western Slope women in service, business, and in education, all making history, all making a difference. Up first, how a Colorado Women's Hall of Fame member made it her mission to tell women's stories.
She's writing women back into the history books. Jill Teachin has an extensive record of accomplishments. She's an elected member of the Society of Women's Engineers. At the White House, she received the National Medal of Technology in the place of Admiral Grace Murray Hopper, who developed a computer compiler that allows us to do Zoom interviews like this today. Teachin co-wrote the book, Her Story, A Timeline of the Women Who Changed America.
There's Carlotta Lanier, who was one of the 9 students called the Little Rock 9 that integrated Central High School in Little Rock, Arkansas, and has lived in Colorado. I mean, there's Linda Alvarado, who has her own construction company and is a co-owner of the Colorado Rockies. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. I've written about them.
She says it's women who didn't take no for an answer that paved the way for future generations. The most recent census put Colorado's poverty rate at just under 10%. That's roughly 485,000 people, but that's statewide. Income's lower and poverty higher on the Western Slope.
The majority, single moms with children. It's a life one Grand Junction woman knows too well and works hard to help change. Our news director Cindy Corris explains.
In a world of shelves piled high with supplies, Sue Ellen Roderick is all too familiar with the struggle to make ends meet.
I suddenly became a single mom and went through a lot of trauma with that.
Her choices narrowed. The change put her international business degree in the back seat.
And then financially, it was really rough.
Surviving took all she had. She reached out to Hope of the Grand Valley, a nonprofit that helps working families who make too much for assistance but can't make ends meet.
I took a budgeting class and really learned, hey, I need to make more money in order to make ends meet. That was also my first experience receiving food.
These days are different. Sue Ellen and the Food Bank of the Rockies Western Slope are busy. Workers and volunteers distributed over 8.7 million meals in 2022. That's an average of 24,000 meals every day. The goal for 2027, a 48% increase. The staff tripled in size since she first started. And then there's this massive new warehouse.
I mean, we see this as a long-term building, so at least 25 years that we'll be in this. We even have room to expand the building if we need to.
And you don't have to talk to Sue Ellen long to know she's got big dreams tied to her unique experiences. From the weekly mobile food pantry sparked by COVID to the Evergreen Box program aimed at low-income seniors.
So that's something when I came out the gate, I was like, we can be doing a better job of reaching our older adults in Fruita and Palisade, and we started some larger distributions there.
Remember that international business degree? It's paid off now in other ways. Kept her eyes open to what may prevent some from asking for help.
When I started, I'll say that I was receiving feedback that our Latino or Hispanic community was not feeling like they could go to local food pantries.
She spearheaded something called the Culturally Responsive Food Initiative, a philosophy change so successful it's being duplicated around the country.
We don't turn away people who are seeking food assistance because they're undocumented. We don't turn them away for any reason.
Time changed, Sue Ellen, the food bank, and other nonprofits.
Giving your time and in something that you have a heart for and that you're passionate about really is amazing.
Trends show more women are moving into leadership position at nonprofits, but there's plenty of room for growth. Just consider this 2020 study from the American Association of University of Women. Analysts found women make up 56% of chief executives at nonprofits with annual budgets less than $1 million, but just 22% of nonprofits with annual budgets of at least $50 million. It's those kind of stories where women rise to the crisis that we found over and over again.
It's particularly true for one woman who embraced making change in the middle of a pandemic. Helping people has always been in Stefania Vasquez's nature.
I've always volunteered and wanted to give back in some way.
Vasquez kicked off a nonprofit, Mutual Aid Partners, right in the middle of the COVID-19 pandemic. Its goal, to bring people together across the community to help each other out.
And I formed Mutual Aid Partners in August of 2020. As the need continued to grow, we didn't really know what was in store for us, and so people were just wanting to help however they could.
Now it's grown into a community-wide event every Tuesday.
It is whatever the community needs, so it keeps changing week by week. It started with just a food distribution, food and some hygiene products, and of course toilet paper. And then it evolved to including dog and cat vaccination.
Through her work in the corporate landscape, Vasquez was able to take what she learned and apply it to her nonprofit.
I actually started my insurance career here in Grand Junction, working for home loan insurance. And then I moved to LA about 4 years after that, and then I was in corporate insurance there.
But it wasn't all sunshine and rainbows. Vasquez says a lot of what she does is trial and error.
It's been a learning experience from the time that I started it, but I did have a foundation from coming from already being in the business world for 10 years and applying some of that. But the nonprofit sector is definitely different.
Add this on top of questioning your self-worth, and it makes it all that much harder.
And I think that if it was a guy, a male that gained as much success, like he wouldn't be getting as much criticism.
But Vasquez has found a way to push through.
Right now, the most rewarding thing is being asked to do interviews like this.
And Vasquez says it's shaping the way women are viewed in the corporate world.
And knowing that there are other younger women and girls that are watching, having an idea and wanting to help out, that you don't have to be this cutthroat businesswoman, that there are other avenues that you can focus on that are about caring and that are about working together.
Continuing to bring connection and a sense of community to residents in the Grand Valley. Still ahead, you can't talk business on the Western Slope without talking about women's contributions. When we come back, meet 3 leaders determined to keep cash flowing right here in Grand Junction.
Plus, a new approach to an old science, how one woman is helping the region's wine industry reach new heights, one glass at a time. We're back in a minute, but first.
1919, Governor Oliver Shoup signs the 19th Amendment. It gave women the right to vote. But the issue wasn't new to Colorado. Our archives are filled with photos like these. Women suffragists making sure their voices mattered. We're back in a minute. Emma Bernard of the Colorado Mountain Club is washing dishes near Horseshoe Park, the group that lobbied for the creation of Rocky Mountain National Park. 1913, another mountain club outing. This one on the shoreline of Bear Lake. George Harvey likely took this photo. The woman in it may be Agnes Vail. She died in 1925. Both helped preserve Colorado's wild backcountry. Our special Women of the Grand Valley continues.
When we talk about the women making a difference in the Grand Valley, we can't leave out the 3 women that head up our local chambers of commerce.
We sat down with each of them to talk about the business climate in the Grand Valley, the importance of women in leadership.
Our area chambers of commerce are an important part of the business climate in the Grand Valley, from organizing local events, helping local businesses, to affecting policy at a grassroots level. They make the Western Slope a better place to do business.
Programs and events, and eventually
going to vice president, and then obviously most recently president and CEO.
Candace Carnahan has been in the trenches for many years when it comes to the policy side. This year, she mobilized over 50 members of the Grand Valley for a trip to Denver to the Grand Junction Chamber's annual legislative meeting.
And this is a great opportunity for us to take business leaders here on the Western Slope over to Denver to really interact and engage in those who are making decisions. I have been lucky enough to be running the program and alongside Diane and planning it for the last 7 years.
She's talking about former CEO Diane Schwenke. Female CEOs at our biggest chambers of commerce are nothing new, and after Diane's retirement, the chamber board didn't have to look very far to find her replacement.
You know, working with Diane was truly a blessing. I really enjoyed being able to absorb not only her passion for the work that we're doing here, but a true understanding of the importance and the impact that it has.
And although Carnahan has big shoes to fill, she's confident in her chamber's ability to navigate through changing business climates and help local businesses thrive.
It's a very exciting time across the valley for all of these organizations, and we're just absolutely thrilled to be a part of it.
Up north in Fruita, another woman heads the local chamber. The Fruita Area Chamber of Commerce is smaller and newer than the GJ Chamber, but as Executive Director Kayla Bowers explains, their commitment to local business is the same.
I feel that at the Fruita Chamber, we've really done a good job at helping make everybody feel like they're together, and at the end of the day, that's what we're here for. We're here to bring people together and help support our local businesses.
And it's working. The Fruita Area Chamber is adding new businesses.
When I originally started, we were just a little over 300, and in the past few years, we've added about 250 members.
And with over 500 businesses now a part of the Fruita Chamber, the organization is stronger than it's ever been. Kayla also organized the Take the Leap Women's Conference, which took place on March 9th.
So this will be our third year of a women's conference, and we have changed locations every year, and each year has become bigger and bigger.
And like their counterparts in Grand Junction, the Fruita Area Chamber also works on policy and government affairs.
We also host the local city council candidate forums, and so last year was a big race. We had 3 open seats.
And the business climate in the Grand Valley in 2023, as Kayla sees it?
There's really just no better time for us to come together than now, and for businesses to support those initiatives from all the chambers is so important to not only the chambers but also our community, and just helps everyone prosper.
The Palisade Chamber of Commerce is the smallest chamber in the Grand Valley and is headed up by Executive Director Jessica Burford. She explains how the agricultural industry in Palisade changes just what type of businesses are members.
We have such a unique community out here, a unique business force that is mostly focused on agritourism.
And Jessica doesn't just head up the Palisade Chamber. She's also a local business owner, has been part of the Palisade Chamber Affairs for several years, serving as Palisade's ambassador leader. She hopes her experience can help local businesses thrive in one of the most picturesque cities in the Grand Valley.
Made me have a lot of empathy for small business owners and the work that they're doing and the challenges they face, and I wanted to be a louder voice for them.
And all 3 local chambers agree on one thing: collaboration.
I think it's really valuable to become a member of all 3 chambers. I love that we have all become very collaborative.
Real common threads that pull us all together and provide opportunities for us to collaborate and really leverage our resources. And the leadership at all of these organizations right now are truly aligned in the understanding that a win for the entire community is a win for everybody.
I know that I've heard a lot of positive feedback in the community, just seeing everyone come together between joint membership from Fruita and Palisade to local legislative affairs between Fruita and Grand Junction Chamber.
And they all agree that having great mentors is what gave them the ability to succeed, and the importance of great women leaders to provide this mentorship to future generations.
To be able to grow from being a mentee into a mentor has really helped me evolve, and I would just hope that I can give the same guidance to those who are underneath me as that I've received over the past few years.
Definitely all 3 chamber CEOs are service-minded women, and they really want to support their community the best way that they can. But I think you're seeing that in a lot of other areas too, like the mayor of Grand Junction is a female, and I think a lot of those leadership roles are shifting to female that maybe have not always been traditionally female, and you're seeing a lot of things getting done.
We're truly taking ownership of the work that needs to be done, and we're having this amazing impact. And the heart that we bring to these conversations and the knowledge and the true expertise is really crafting a community that capitalizes on the wonderful place we've come from, but understands the evolution that we're in.
Sometimes it takes a unique perspective to find what's special about something and breathe new life into it.
Up next, Kirsten McBrier introduces us to a Grand Valley businesswoman whose life outside the box helped put Western Slope wineries on the map.
It's the kind of town where time rolls by as slowly as the Colorado in low season. But tucked away among the small storefronts is a big business putting Palisade on the map.
I'm the executive director of the Colorado Association for Viticulture and Enology, or CAVE.
That's Cassidy Schull. She heads up the statewide nonprofit with a single purpose.
And our whole mission is to support and encourage the research and development for the Colorado wine industry.
It's a big job. Much of it is centered around fundraising and education. The top event? Colorado Mountain Wine Fest, named the country's best wine fest, and sold out for the last 8 years.
This was a piece from 2017.
Her office is lined with memories collected as the industry continues to grow.
These were all Colorado wines.
Cassidy started here straight out of college 11 years ago.
I started when I was 23, and not only the membership, some of the members, but just folks in general, they're like, what's going on? You hired a little lady. Like, this is a big organization.
But Cassidy knows what it's like to face down a challenge. After all, it comes with the family name, her grandmother, a Rotary member, her mother, a business owner in Costa Rica.
That entrepreneurial drive in a foreign country was really inspiring and empowering for me to watch at a really young age. And then moving back to the States when I was 15, she really encouraged me to just continue to follow my dreams. It's just really kind of an honor and a privilege to be able to look back and see that I was able to live my life with those amazing women, and still do. My mother is still here, and like I said, still supportive and part of my life every day.
And then there are other women in the industry. A slow but steady increase. Call it a harvest from decades of work, stretching back generations.
We kind of had this aha moment where it was the wine industry, the beer industry, the cider industry, and the distilling industry. And we all looked around and we're like, we're all women sitting at this table putting this project together.
A table that just continues to grow. 150 to 160 wineries now in Colorado. And more women in the industry per capita on the Western Slope. Cassidy will tell you, it all started with a dream.
You matter and you belong here.
Born from a history of women who made a difference.
Still ahead, what it took to carve a living from Colorado's rough countryside.
But first, how a CMU professor is changing lives and solving mysteries. It's a story you'll only see here as we celebrate the women of the Grand Valley.
This Colorado woman made sports history. Lou Colasito played in the All-American Girls Professional Baseball League. She threw with her right, played catcher, and became the first Colorado woman to reach baseball's big leagues. She made $55 a week in 1944 and 45. In 1984, she was inducted into the Denver Softball Hall of Fame. We're back right after this.
Women across the Grand Valley are making their mark, creating a lasting impact on what they do.
Colorado Mesa University is home to a few of those women.
A professor of forensic anthropology, Melissa Connor, has been with CMU for nearly 10 years.
I run a human remains donation program, and I work with researchers and research on the human remains, and I work with students who want to do research and who want to learn skeletal anatomy.
While she's a professor of forensic anthropology, she got her start in the National Park Service.
I started a long time ago as an archaeologist and ended up working for the National Park Service for 15 years. One of the sites I worked at was Little Bighorn Battlefield.
From there, her work started to snowball in the best sense of the word.
I ended up working with Physicians for Human Rights, the International Commission for Missing People, and a couple of other NGOs or non-governmental organizations off and on for about 15 years.
And eventually applied to work the Body Farm program at CMU.
I saw the ad to run a human remains donation taphonomy facility or a body farm here.
Connor used what she learned in the field and applied it to the classroom.
So it's what we do now out at the research station, is look at decomposing bodies and look at the odd things that come up. One, define what is natural, what is not natural, and then what's changing that decomposition trajectory.
Connor says teaching undergraduates at CMU is different than those pursuing a master's degree, so she has to refine her teaching a little more.
It has to be done with undergraduates is to take a large research question and break it off into smaller projects that can be done in a semester or a year. So it forces me to understand the research and to come up with these smaller projects that then can come back together to answer larger questions, which is a really good learning experience for me.
But it's not just the students Connor has a direct impact on.
We did have a donor whose mother had a very unusual condition, multiple hereditary ecstoses.
Through living donors, Connor and her students are able to look at the skeleton of one person to help with ongoing medical conditions of a living person.
We were able to look on the skeleton and see the ecstoses, or all the little bumps on the bone. Donor's daughter actually took that to her physical therapist, and they reevaluated how they were doing what they were doing.
All of this coming together to create a lasting impact on the students at CMU, the community, and even the world. Connor says if she had more hours in the day, she would work for 30 hours. She says she would strive to get more publications out to the public to educate more people on the importance of her work.
Colorado's archives gave a glimpse at life in the late 1800s. This stenograph shows a Paiute woman with a baby in a cradle board to her back. The picture was part of a collection sold at Emporium in Salt Lake City. 1873. Two women from the southern Paiute living in northern Arizona on the Colorado River. The image is titled, "The Seed Gatherers." Finally, a look at life in a coal mining camp in the 1890s. This one probably in Los Animas County, Colorado. Take a close look. The children are holding pets, like cats and dogs. The house made from wood with a plaster finish. Back in a minute. You're watching Women of the Grand Valley, celebrating Women's History Month.
We know there are hundreds of other stories we could tell you of women who shaped the Western Slope and all of Colorado.
And really the entire country. And the first woman I think of when I think of leadership is my own mother, who is 91 years old this year and still doing quite well, and has had a very successful life working in industry as well as a mother.
I would think the woman that comes to my mind is my grandmother. She's no longer here, but she was a fierce woman in everything that she did, and I hope to be a fraction of the woman that she was.
We thank all of you. So head to our webpage and find the Women's History Month tab under the drop-down menu on the left-hand side. It's full of other pictures and articles.
You can watch this presentation by subscribing to our YouTube channel as well.
Share your photos as well as your memories with us as we look back this month on what it took to slice a home from unforgiving land in the face of constant change and challenge. Good night.